Our guest today is Jim Parkman. This was a huge case. I mean, this was the fourth largest accounting fraud in the history of the United States.
The CEO of HealthSouth, the Fortune 500 healthcare company.
Ferrari Enzo was nearly obliterated in the high-speed crash along the PCH.
Zenvo, ST150S.
He went from being on the Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Only going to make 3 for the United States.
I'm Bobby Khan, former exotic car dealer turned #1 FBI's most wanted fugitive.
Generally, when you look at the law, 90% of the time it's against you.
The FBI put a $20,000 reward for information into his arrest.
Bobby Khan scammed super rich customers at a New Jersey car dealership.
Join myself and James Parkman, my attorney and best friend, as we have cars, courts, and conversations.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of PARKMAN KHAN Unleashed. That's Jim Parkman. I'm Bobby Khan. Jimmy, just now, something that I've been waiting for my whole life just happened.
Okay.
President Trump just signed an executive order to unseal all the classified documents relating to President Kennedy's death, RFK's death, and Martin Luther King's death.
Okay. You know, my thought right off, you just told me this. I've been working. You know, you have time to sit on the couch and eat bonbons and
I haven't had a bonbon in a year.
You know, and play with your wife. I don't have time for that. So
I wish I could play with my wife.
Yeah. So so I just learned of this. So this is the first. This is the first for me. So bam,
Okay.
Here's what comes to my mind. Should have been done a long time ago.
Absolutely. It should have been done years ago.
Yes.
First off, it shouldn't have been classified for all this time. I mean, the guy got whacked.
It's over. It's years.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything, there may not be anything there, okay?
Yeah.
Other than what we already know. But if that's the case, then
Listen,
so what?
We already know the CIA and the mob killed Kennedy. We already know that, right? And that's
that's what you say. I don't know that, but
listen. I mean, we can go into conspiracy theories.
We can, and I'm not into conspiracy theories. I don't like it.
But you have to also remember, it was the government officials that did these reports. They're not going to make themselves look bad. There's no way the government's going to come out there and make a report that says we had our hand in killing our president, or we had our hand in killing the civil rights leader, or the president's brother.
Oh, I know that. That's not what I want to know. I want to know actual facts.
Yeah.
I want to know what, if they went out and talked to somebody and that person says, yeah, this was revealed to me. I want to know facts. I don't want assumptions. I don't want, feelings of no, we don't know. I want to know what the investigation factually shows.
I'm going to pop people's balloons here, okay? Because as much as I wanted to know, because I mean, in school, I did a report on this whole thing on Kennedy's assassination and like who I thought was responsible and all that stuff. And obviously, I followed it. And obviously, what they did with Martin Luther King, it wasn't right what the FBI did with him and how they harassed him and all that stuff. Obviously, I have assumptions of who was responsible for each death. But I know what's going to happen. It's like any report that comes out, that's a government thing. It's going to come out where we're going to be like, really? I already knew that. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be, there's going to be no, oh my God moment. That's it. It should have been released years ago, but the CIA, when Trump was going to release it during his first term, the CIA came and said, don't release it because it could damage the CIA.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, and if maybe there's stuff in there that's maybe there's more in there than you think there's in there.
Well, listen, the one agency that I do not like. Well, okay, I don't
one
like any of the three. I don't like any of those three-letter agencies. Okay,
starts with an A.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I don't like anything CIA, DEA, FBI, anybody. IRS. I don't like. You know what? The hell with. Let's just dissolve all of them. I'm with Trump. Let's not tax the public. Let's tax the foreign companies. Let's get rid of the FBI and let deal with local police and sheriff's departments. I'm totally fine with that. Like, deal with that. That's it. We don't, I'm totally good with having, I think our local police departments and our state police are more than competent enough to handle the crime in this country.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to type out an executive order by yourself, okay?
And hand it to the president.
And hand it, say, let me have your autograph.
But then I'll be going to prison for that.
Yes, you will. Back. Not going, back.
Exactly.
Yes, you will. But I'm just throwing that out as something you might consider.
I'm not doing that. So if any of these idiot FBI agents are watching these videos, I'm not doing that. But I think you guys should all be fired.
You know, like I said, the only thing that I just want to see what's uncovered. I mean, history. I love history.
Me too.
Maybe there's something there. Maybe there isn't. You know, but let's take a look at it. Let's see what did or did not happen. You know, let's see how the investigation was. It a complete investigation? Was it? You know, how was the timelines? How was the information dealing with the timelines? How was the evidence gathered?
I think the Kennedy family is very happy. When we met Bobby Kennedy here in Vegas a couple months ago, he had said that Donald Trump made him a promise that if he was elected, he would release the files on both his father and his uncle.
And he ought to be, at the minimum, he ought to be able to see them.
Yep, exactly. And he's happy. So I'm sure he's happy today. And I'm sure the entire Kennedy family is happy about this. And even Martin Luther King's family. You know, I mean, they got to be accepted. You know, I mean, good for them. At least they'll get some kind of closure.
Well, it's unfortunate that he didn't add Tupac into that.
True that. Yeah, that's
and Biggie. Too bad he didn't add those in there. You know,
Tupac and Biggie. Well, I guess Diddy will shed light on those when he's
but I've tried to keep up with that to see. You know, they say they've got the person that did it, but you know, I mean,
well, he's sitting in prison. I mean, in jail here right now, facing charges.
Yeah, but I'd certainly like to know, you know, that too.
Exactly.
Because that's history too, you know. And
that is history. You know, sitting in Tupac's car, the one he was shot in, that was kind of cool. Yep, exactly. I mean, my friend has the car, and so
we saw it.
Yeah, exactly. You saw it.
I went to see it. Yeah. Don't you remember? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Is it setting in? Is it coming clear to you now? That was interesting. You know, I mean, the whole thing about all of it. You know, I was in sixth grade when President Kennedy was shot. And I remember the day. I remember it. They announced it on the intercom. And I remember the day. I remember the others very well.
You know, in my opinion, I think America lost its innocence that day.
Ooh,
because
wow!
I think because you know why? When Lincoln was shot, there was no TVs. Okay, nobody saw it. But this is the first time the American public saw a U.S. president shot, and the horror of it, and the horror that went with it. And I think that was the day. And if you notice, up until like the 50s, remember, people were nice, people were jovial. It was this and that. But after that day, after 1963. Our country went downhill when it came to their demeanor, their actions. People got nastier. The world got darker for us in this country.
And it did. And it became more alarming that these things, this was, to me, I'll tell you, looking back, I'm not trying to be a quarterback here, you know, an armchair quarterback, but looking back, this should have been a warning of what was to come.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
and you know, and I always say that. And I always, you know, people say, when did America change? And I always say, with the Kennedy assassination. That's it. That's what changed.
I think that did. I don't disagree with you on that. Yeah. I think that's a profound statement. I've never thought about it, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I think the 60s had a lot to do with forming the rest of the world. And after that, because of all the assassinations and the civil rights era and the Vietnam War, that changed our history forever.
Yes.
Yep. That's the time when the government became more strict and the government became more tight on public and wanted to crack down on more things because they said, okay, we're not going to have this discourse anymore. People are getting out of line. They're protesting. They're making us look bad. Now we're going to sit there and crack down more and more.
Yeah. And of course, the reality of all of it is we lost great people.
Yeah, we did. So
we lost great people.
I mean, politics aside, you know, at the end of the day, Kennedy was a president, He was a father. He was a son. And at the end,
And his
nobody
brother.
deserves. Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And same as Reverend King.
Yeah, exactly. And Reverend King was a father, and he was fighting for something he believed in.
Right.
And that's one thing that I really have to talk about here. Okay, and this is going off topic.
Okay.
But in our country's history, if you notice, and it never ends, right? Is that anytime somebody stands up and they speak about something, it doesn't matter if they're white or they're black. Our country, our government, tries to shut them down in any which way they can. Let it be trying to silence them by putting them in prison.
Or people shoot at you.
Shoot at you, right? Like, for example, Elvis Presley. He wasn't a racist person, right? And he was like, look, I want to do a dance, or I want to have both black and white people at my thing. Well, they wanted to lock him up. They threatened him. They did everything they could. That's why he ended up going into the military, because, they said, he's bad for our next generation. So they wanted to shut the guy up. They wanted to end his career. Why? Because the guy just didn't believe in
sang a few songs.
Yeah, he sang a few songs. He shook his hips. And then he said, okay, you know what? Black people and white people can attend my concert.
And did a few movies.
Yeah, but they did that. Remember the Monkees? Yeah, remember?
That was later in my life, yes.
And one of the last remaining member, he's suing the FBI. You know that, right?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, because when they used to speak out about certain things, like what was happening in the news and stuff like that, the FBI started targeting them. And they went after all the band members and stuff like that, or whatever, the group members and stuff. So he sued them. And he wanted their FBI files and said that they wrongfully targeted us because we were speaking up against what the government was doing. And it just goes down in history. Anytime somebody speaks up, Martin Luther King, let it be Malcolm X, whatever, they try shutting you down. And it happens today. Like, when you were during Trump's first era, if you were a Trump supporter and you spoke out or you did something, your business got torpedoed. You may get, charged with a federal case or something like that. So it still happens in this country today. And I hope.
That's even if you made just pillows.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing bad, just a pillow.
Yeah, exactly.
Make people rest better, Hey.
Exactly, right? Like, look what happened to that poor guy, right? I mean, you destroyed people's lives. It has to change. Someone has to go to Congress and sit down and say, look, we need to put an end to targeted prosecutions. We need to put an end to going after citizens. If we really believe in the Constitution and we give people the freedom of speech, they should be able to speak and say what they want without fear that we're going to go after the businesses. We're going to start a campaign in the media against them, or lock them up for made up bullshit charges because we just want to silence them.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't, try to rise to the level of an incursion or
exactly.
it's the old thing. You can't scream fire in a theater,
No,
when
exactly.
there's one, you can't.
Exactly, but
that's not.
Martin Luther King, he was doing peaceful protests.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's that.
Let me say this to the viewers today. Most people don't know this, I don't think. Maybe they do. If they do, I'd like to know it. I didn't. When I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, he was arrested here and put in jail.
Yep.
Which is terrible. But he wrote letters, or a letter in several different parts, that he sent to his lawyer, I believe. And I wish people out there would take the time to read the letter.
Really? What's so special about it?
Well, just read it. I don't want to, if I tell you, then you won't read it. But I want you to read what he wrote and how he wrote it. It was unbelievable, in my opinion.
I mean, he was very eloquent.
Yeah, and he didn't have all this great stuff in jail back then to write it with either. I mean, he wrote it and, delivered it to his lawyer, and then he was hoping the lawyer would deliver it to whoever. But if you have a time, we all know the great sayings that he made, and we all know about the mountaintop and all that and the great thing. But somebody, if you're out there, take the time and read the letter.
Yeah.
It's
he was also locked up in Montgomery, remember?
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot, that went on back then.
Yeah. He was locked up in that jail in Montgomery that's still there today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where they held me. Remember when they transferred me from the state to the feds?
Mm-hmm.
That was the jail. Yeah. And I remember hearing that story. So I was like, wow.
Did you write a letter to anybody? You didn't write.
No,
I
picked up the phone. I picked up the phone and called you. That's what I did.
Okay, that was all right then. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to say to people, if you got a minute or two,
absolutely,
read something that's coming from a very brilliant individual.
Yeah, and I look forward to it. I'm going to actually read it.
Do read it. It's worth it. It's worth it. All right. Well, look,
guys, thank you for watching.
Maybe in a few days we'll get they'll start publishing. What the reports are.
Next week's gonna be good. We better be hopping on here next week.
I can't wait. I mean, I've been interested in this just like a lot of people have.
A lot of people have, and you know what? This first week of Trump's presidency has been great. It's like every day, every time you turn on the news, you're like, whoa, he did this, what did he do? I mean, I love what he's doing with all the government workers. That he's like, okay, all the DEI hires are gone. Yeah. Oh, I love how he shuffled the guy that was in charge of the raid for Mar-a-Lago. How he demoted him and threw him on.
Well,
you want to go?
That didn't come as a shock, did it?
No. Listen, listen. If that was me, that guy's career would have been over instantly.
Well, I call it. I don't know what everybody else calls it. I call it trimming the fat.
Absolutely, and I think we haven't even made a dent. And you know what? One thing I will say before we leave.
Okay.
I love what he did. He cut the security protocols for 51 government officials at the moment. So he pulled their security details. The security details were costing taxpayers $2 million per month per person. Do the math. That's over $1 billion that was costing this country a year for just 60 people almost.
Yeah.
That's insanity. That's where all the money's going. We're spending money on these people are retired years ago.
Plus they've been working at home.
Yeah, they're working at home.
Not in office anymore. So
and they're on TV doing interviews every day.
You don't need a security detail. What, to go to Walmart?
Yeah, exactly. No, they're like, the one guy, he's on MSNBC every day. That's your job. You work at home and that's it. You don't need full-time Secret Service guarding you. But that's the thing about this presidency is he's going to cut the fat. He's seriously going to cut some serious fat, and which is what we need.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the people that have jobs.
Think about it. $1 billion right there could help a lot of homeless veterans.
And we can use the Secret Service somewhere else, maybe. Of value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Maybe we can stop people from shooting at our top people.
Yeah.
Maybe
listen, you know what? I don't feel bad for these government workers that are lifetime, bureaucrats.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, they're going to leave and they're going to go into some white shoe law firm, or they're going to hop into private security, or they're going to hop into this and that, and they're going to be totally fine. So I'm not worried about people.
Oh no, no, I'm not. I think it's time though to cut, and he did, and I'm glad. I think it's good, and I hope he cuts some more.
Me too. Listen, I hope. Listen, if he could half the size of the federal government, I'm happy with that.
Well, the only thing in closing that I'd like to say is I enjoyed the talk on this, but I'd rather have talked about Melania and her outfit.
Listen, you know what? I think we're going to see a lot. I think this time you're going to see Melania on more magazine covers than she was last time, because I think the tide has turned.
Well, I tell you what, it was interesting.
Yes, it was.
It was all interesting.
At least the White House looks pretty again.
Doesn't it, though?
Yep, exactly.
There's
class. The class has been restored to the White House.
They'll repaint that sucker. So, get ready, Sherman Williams. Here we come. Wallpaper galore.
Yep. All right, bro.
Buddy.
Take care.
Good. Let us hear from you. Yeah, let us hear from you out there.
Yep, absolutely. Let us know. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye. All right.